Let me welcome you to the conversation segment of the Signature Show this Sunday. This segment of the program is being produced from Kebbi, the capital of Kebbi State. So we are going around the country, if you don't mind that. And our guest this Sunday is the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, His Excellency Abubakar Atiku Bagudu. Your Excellency, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
You must pardon me, I'll start this conversation rather on a sad note. We got to know that there was a bandit attack in the southern tip of your state. I must commiserate with you about some lives that were lost.
Thank you.
And the communities that were affected. But let me ask you, did that attack come to you by surprise?
Well, it comes as a surprise because security agencies were ambushed because they are not expecting the attack. The Nigerian security forces have been doing a commendable job in neighboring Niger State, where they were chasing bandits and bombing them, and ground operations were taking place. And the area where this attack took place is 1.2 kilometers away from Niger State. So the bandits moved into Kebbi State, and regrettably, they took our security police in particular by surprise. And we had that tragic incident. But our nation has been challenged by multiple sources of insecurity, even though progress is being made in some area, even though commendably the security agencies are working. The President Muhammadu Buhari has been providing leadership. Vigilante and self-help groups have been helping across the country. But the attack is an illustration that we need to do more.
Your Excellency, we need to do more. Now, while we visited that area of the state that was affected, there was this conversation between us and the locals that most of them have sold off their cattle because of fear that they could be attacked. And there was finger being pointed at some Fulani rascals. The Fulani I have always known is a simple neighbor who does his animal grazing and lives in peace with you. How did the Fulani begin to evolve from a simple pastoralist into this kind of hardcore bandit?
I think sociologists will be better skilled at answering this question, because both the morphology and evolution of crime will suggest that with time, criminal groups come together and learn from each other. Skills, they are not indigenous to one group. So maybe cattle rustling might have been a simple offense now, but now is more sophisticated offense. It's collaborative crime by different criminal groups. Somebody will steal the cows, somebody will take it to market, somebody will buy, somebody will keep the money. And so one can easily see that sophistication, the sophistry of whatever started out as a simple neighborhood crime can lead to anything. And the more money that is involved, the more likelihood that you see arms involved, the more likelihood you'll see money laundering involved, and even acts of terrorism, and which we are seeing all that. So the Fulani are not innocent of it. There are Fulani people who are members of the crime gangs, and there are more Fulani. The majority are victims of it, because the Fulanis complained to me in Kebbi that they are the ones who live in rugas, in settlements that are off the main roads. They are the first victims of kidnapping, sometimes by Fulanis, sometimes by non-Fulanis. And it's easier for them to go and sell their cows and pay off any ransom. So, but what again, even in this sad circumstance, what is a lesson is for all Nigerians to recognize that this problem is not unique to one state. It's not tribal, it's not religious, it's a national problem. So it begs for all of us to understand it and cooperate with each other so that we focus on it and deal with it as a crime.
Your Excellency, there's a leg to this question I raised, which I want you to touch on. And that is, do you think that Nigeria as a nation has over time paid enough attention to the pastoralist as an integral part of national economy?
No, certainly not. And it's not surprising. Historians have classified, rightly or wrongly, African population in terms of Negroids, Chadic people, and Afro-Asians. Negroids being those whose attachment to land. Historically, they are said to be the first to settle because they become farmers. Chadic people, those whose attachment to water, riverine people, and those are the second to settle. Afro-Asiatic people, those whose attachment to land, are the last, and it's a Sahelian problem. It's in Southern Africa, it's in Central Africa. So I think there is underinvestment in them generally because that's the life they chose, but that maybe suggests that we should even work hard more to include them because they feel excluded. We talk about sedentary life for them, which is good so that they can go to school, but again, it requires investment. It requires communities having water, having schools, having the opportunity to undertake the businesses that they like to do, which again can contribute to our national economy. So indeed, like we have been doing, like this has been happening in the last 6 years, we need to focus more that this is an integral part of our agriculture. This is an integral part for us to boost the national economy. Why are we importing dry powdered milk? Milk is 70% water. In some countries, they take out the water, for ease of transport, bring the dry milk, which is less nutritious, and then pour water into it to convert it to milk that we give to children. Whereas around us is an economy that can provide us with that milk, and for that matter, meat and milk products, cheese. But yet, we have not invested enough. Effort is being done now to draw attention. Different programs are being put in place by the federal government, and commendably, and more money is going into it. Central Bank of Nigeria is putting more money, but we are not where we want to be. We can achieve a lot more quicker, faster.
Your Excellency, my last question on this very issue, well, you've already touched on it. What we can do to begin to reverse this ugly situation? Because it is easy to recruit into deviancy. It is more difficult, especially if that deviancy is paying you better than the industry we are in. I was going to ask, you're not a magician, but what do you suggest we can do to begin to reverse this trend? Because young people are getting into it.
Recognition of the need to include people more, and we are a lucky nation in a way that if you find people who are willing to put effort, like somebody is willing to do agriculture, help him to generate more out of agriculture. If somebody is willing to be a fisherman or fishing woman, for that matter, help him or her to generate more from fishing. If somebody is willing to be in the animal husbandry sector, help him or her. That is what we should focus so that we support those in those occupations to do them better, contribute to employment and national income and national economic output, and absorb more people, because we are battling with finding opportunities for people. But yet, these are areas where people are willing to do more. But like I said earlier, that the Central Bank of Nigeria, under guidance from President Muhammadu Buhari and the policy of the administration, have recognized that more money is going into agriculture, whether it is farming, fishing, and animal husbandry. But we need to do more. We need much, much more money. We need much more money to put into irrigation across the country. We need much more money to help the fishing community, to help the animal husbandry community to modernize. We were in Abeokuta after a crisis between farmers and pastoralists, and one KBSC said, look, we have been living with Fulanis for over 200 years, but the farming community have historically received more support. We all need more support, especially when the land resources are not longer as generous, as available as they were before, because urbanization, land use, private property rights have limited the common land. So all economic groups, farmers, fishing communities, and animal husbandry, we should invest more in them so that they can conduct their activity legitimately in confined and to generate more value from small space than the fallow nature of agriculture.
Let me make a personal observation. I've driven from Lagos to Maiduguri. In that first experience, I did a program asking why such land was lying fallow when the people are hungry. Just yesterday, we flew from Kebbi down to Zuru and then drove by road to where this incident took place. Again, the same experience of mass land not being put to use. Let me ask you a question. Would you go for a Marshall Plan for Nigeria's agriculture? Why I'm asking for national plan, why I'm suggesting Marshall Plan, is that the nation consciously sets a huge amount of money aside or borrows purposively in order to begin to harness the potentials we have in agriculture. Because led to the state governments, it's going to be a very arduous task. Would you go for a Marshall Plan?
Well, if a Marshall Plan, which is a plan that the European nations put together after the Second World War in order to help to deal with the devastation, is smaller than what is required today by African countries. The United States of America, one country, is indebted to the tune of $27 trillion. $27 trillion. 1% of 27 trillion is $270 billion. Nigeria is indebted to the tune of about $89 billion, less than half of a percent. America has less than twice the population of Nigeria. So that tells you we are putting too little money. As I said to you earlier, we are trying to solve $1 trillion problem with $1 million, and it won't work. We need to change our mindset about borrowing. We need quantums of money vastly in excess of what we are investing now, and therefore we must go out there collectively, government, our intellectual assets, to tell the world that we need better and more equitable access to the world capital market. We are able to borrow or generate more funds and invest more, and we are able to pay for them. We are not looking for aid. We are looking for resources that are available to other nations that ought to be available to us. Just last year, in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic, we have seen countries raising sums of money that are beyond their annual national budgets to deal with the pandemic, which Nigeria does not have access to. We have borrowed, yes, thank God. Some counts of the World Bank has been helpful, and some ADB and some other lenders, but it's too small. We need the Nigeria. One of the things that stands Nigeria out in the world is that we have what economists call absorptive capacity, a very strong absorptive capacity. That means we have the capacity to absorb investment. If you put $100 billion in Nigerian railways, there's need for it and it can pay for itself. If you put that sum in our power sector, it can pay for itself. If you do that in our refining, it can pay for itself. If you do that in the agricultural sector, whether farming, with one crop can deal with that money and will generate more output and pay back. So yes, we need to draw attention of the world that, look, we need more money, and also mobilize our countrymen and women to argue more forcefully so that we can generate this money that we can.
Your Excellency, I think it also requires national buy-in, because each time we raise matters like this, you will see politicians like yourself say, look, Nigeria has borrowed. Even the one that we've borrowed, what have they done with it? My place is backward and they're borrowing. We need a buy-in.
Nigeria is not over-borrowed. Nigeria is not over-borrowed. Our borrowing as a proportion of gross domestic product is one of the smallest in the world. Smaller than that of Japan, smaller than that of the United States, where their borrowing is bigger than their gross domestic product. We are still less than 30%. Many people of recent have said, well, it's not borrowing as a proportion of GDP, that the revenue used to service debt, which is wrong, because you need a lot of long-term money in order to create tomorrow's income. We need a lot of money to go into primary education. Primary education is not going to pay off in 1 year, but it will definitely pay off. So that's why I said our intellectual effort, our universities, you key in, way into this debate, our leading lights in media, in literally society, should sit and less angrily look at this thing. Sometimes when this is said that we are borrowed, it's as if we are, it's just as an expression of anger rather than. Greece is a smaller economy than Nigeria. But after the 2008 financial crisis, Greece borrowed close to $300 billion. And the world felt it's reasonable to give Greece that money. Ireland, another country whose economy is smaller than that of Nigeria, they borrowed about $240 billion. You may not necessarily have to put the money in government's hand, but by God, we need this money. And the sooner we begin to quit our angry approach and mobilize ourselves and the world not to ignore us and help us with quantums of money that is sensible, that we can repay, that will generate higher return for the owners, the better. Because around the world there are pension funds, there are sovereign wealth funds, there are private equity firms who are earning less than 2% return per annum. If you put money in Nigeria, you can get 6% upwards.
Your Excellency, I was about to take a break, but I'll not do so now. What I want to do is to push this financial conversation a little forward. And let me quote the Minister of Finance, who about 3 weeks ago hinted at reduction in the salaries of civil servants. And her logic was that Nigeria's resources were not getting any better. Your brother governor, Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State, has gone ahead to disengage about over 4,000 workers. And it's reason that government resources were dwindling. Do you think that Nigeria needs to take a look, a second look at its reward system? Let me tell you why I'm saying so. Labor is up in arms. Say, no, you cannot reduce workers' salaries. No, you cannot retrench workers. Rather, take a second look at the number of political appointees, their appetencies and their wages, that what is consuming national money is a kind of a profligate approach to public administration, especially in favor of politicians. Are we in the woods financially?
I think it comes back to my previous answer in my view. Once the quantum of resources available to any unit, family, community, government, is too little compared to its need, you will hear all kind of self-interest arguments. And that's what we have. Nigeria's budget, federal budget, for 2021 is 13.588 trillion naira, which is about $35 billion. That's what the federal government intends to spend in 2021, with about 30% of it to be borrowed. So that meaning that the revenue is about 8 trillion, or about $22 billion. How big is $35 billion? Assuming all of it come in, assuming all of it is spent, for a country of 200 million. Brazil, a country of about 210 million, their federal budget is $659 billion. Of course, under Buhari administration, budget performance have been improving commendably. But even under Jonathan, when oil prices were as high of $147, we didn't have enough to meet our need. Talk less of when the resources are quite small. Are the politicians the problem? I don't think so. Because what is the budget of the National Assembly as a proportion of our national budget? About 128 billion naira, less than 1%. So even if you abolish the National Assembly, which I pray we don't, that means 99% of the problem is elsewhere. It's not solved. So what is the problem? I think the problem is that we pray that the Minister of Finance, very, very dependable, transparent, Zainab Shamsuname, will one day find $200, $300 billion to give President Buhari to spend, and then subsequently incoming presidents will have bigger sums, and then we'll have less of these angry arguments.
Your Excellency, just before I take that break I talked about, how are you faring in Kebbi State in relation to dwindling resources, paying your salaries, and meeting your development objectives?
Well, we are not different from the pains and the agony that our nation is going through. However, in Kebbi, we are happy, and I must thank the good people of Kebbi for embracing the reform initiatives that are being put in place by the federal government and state government, because many people have taken to activities where they will be employers of labor rather than be employees of labor. Even those who are in government employment have recognized that within the limits of the law, I can go into farming, I can go into poultry, I can go into activity that will A, give me more income, B, preparing me for life after retirement. And then 3, we have very, very good understanding. The budget system is transparent, so the labor supports us, they understand what we are going through. Mind you, in any developing country, the recurrent expenditure of government is bound to be big because government employ most of the teachers, not private schools. Government employ most of the health workers. And it is this necessary employees that dominate government employment. And therefore, because of the developmental stage, we will continue with a big proportion of our resources going into salary for good reasons.
Well, you're watching the conversation segment of the Signature Show. We'll return shortly and we'll talk more on what is happening in Kebbi State. Stay with us.
This is Signaturetv.org. Breaking the news. Following the news. Analyzing the news. 247 round the clock. All on the go. Signaturetv.org. News in your pocket.
You are welcome back. Now, Your Excellency, I said we'll now converse on the goings on in Kebbi State. In this paucity of resources, state governments naturally are scrambling for investors to come into their states. And for them to succeed, they must be making certain offers to the investor. What is the Kebbi State advantage? What are the incentives you are putting out there to attract the investor, either locally or internationally?
Well, first is the realization that we need more investment. And therefore, all our stakeholders in Kebbi, starting from the governor, deputy governor, members of the state executive council, members of the state assembly, our senator, members of the National Assembly, senators, House of Reps, chairman of local government, wives of governor, and senior government officials, emirs, religious leaders. We all are investment agents of the state. We go around the country and indeed around the world promoting our state and appreciating investors that do invest in our state and what they need and what we can do to help them do better and make more money. Because the more you make, the more they make more money, the more
they want to invest.
They want to invest. So I can assure all investors that Kebbi State is a welcoming state, and we will leave no stone unturned to ensure that investors are welcome and are made happy, made secure, and support them. We don't envy them, we support them to make money.
Your Excellency, let me begin to itemize things that the investor will look forward so that if he comes, he'll be happy. 1, he may ask you for a tax holiday. 2, he may ask you for easy access to land. 3, he wants to be assured that he has the manpower to drive his business. And he wants to be assured that he can return the profit he makes as he runs his business. Out of these 4, which ones are you providing for the investor?
I think all. And let me illustrate that to you. The first major investment that happened after President Muhammadu Buhari took office is an investment by the company Wakot Limited in a rice processing facility in Argungu. And that rice processing facility took 11 months from conception to commissioning because land issues were dealt with promptly. State government support was there, tax issues were looked into. And where we don't have local employees, we support companies to bring employees from elsewhere, anywhere in Nigeria, or even if it is foreign talent. The companies are global players, and occasionally they may need skills that are not local yet, or they are operating in other parts of the world that belong, that are their employees, and they draw attention to more opportunities for our younger ones to invest in skills. And ever since then, we have seen more investors. We have seen local companies expanding and doubling capacity, and we have seen more investors coming. And each investor has access to everyone. Our AMS have been wonderful. They are there at hand to resolve issues. Everyone in the state government is available to talk and participate in ensuring that investors' problems are addressed within the quickest possible time. And we are not responsible for company income tax, but taxes that are local. We are not as keen about collecting taxes as having the investors to stay, to get comfort and make money. And we know that combination of pay as you earn from their employees, the local value addition they generate will compensate for any revenue loss.
Your Excellency, you have just enumerated levels of cooperation, from the government to the MS, to senior government officials, even civil servants. It appears that everybody's hand is on deck. How does it help in your day-to-day administration of the state?
Oh, it eases it, because again, like I said, the good people of Kebbi appreciate that the number one role of the governor is not even administering the state. It's promoting the state, finding investors, finding people, artists, people of note that will support the quest for the state's development drive. And we are lucky. We are very, very pleased with the support. Development partners have been supporting the state. Other countries have been in and out. We have had ambassadors from all kinds of countries visiting, encouraging us, supporting us. So that comes because the people of Kebbi appreciate that governance is about the ability to bring more for the state rather than to distribute more efficiently, especially when the cake to be distributed is tiny.
Your Excellency, let me be a little personal. Yesterday I drove around with you, and I told my colleague whom we were coming back that I made two observations. One is that you were driving in your simple car, and there was not that rush, that beating people out of the road, that screaming siren. And as our own vehicle was coming behind yours, there was a traffic light that showed red, and you stopped. That doesn't look like His Excellency, who ought to pull through and disobey the rule and drive into government house. Is that an attitude to life, or is it your political philosophy?
Well, both, because governance or being a leader is servanthood. It's not lordship. It's servanthood, really. And I have children. I want them to see. I want the younger ones who relate with me to see, so that if they choose to go into office or seek office, they should know that it's about serving people, not lording over them. And the oath we swore does not make us masters, it makes us servants. So whatever you need to do to exhibit service and servanthood, that is what comes with the job of being a governor, unfortunately. Maybe it can make others change their mind, but
Also, that on that trip, you didn't seem to worry too much about security. I saw you move into the crowd to the children greet them, touch them on the head, and continue. That also somebody will say, that doesn't look governor-like. Because on the average in this country, with all due respect, governors move like big men. And big men chase the people off the road and don't come near the hoi polloi, these lower class people. But I saw you yesterday and I felt like the grandfather that I am. You were touching the children. You were at home with them before I entered the MS Palace. What story does that tell of Abubakar Atiku Bagudu?
I think one of the first things is that, unfortunately, we have been exaggerating our security challenges. Yes, Nigeria might be going through a rough patch, but we are being better. And at all times in Nigeria's contemporary history, since after the Civil War, you find investors everywhere in Nigeria. They don't go away. They feel safe enough to continue to look for business. Now, I don't think there's any part of Nigeria as we speak that you go to and you won't find a foreigner living there looking for money. So that means we are not as insecure as we made out or we allow social media discourse to lead us to. Secondly, like I said, my role is to promote the state, is to also encourage the young people. Who knows, maybe there I have shook the hand of a future governor, of a medical doctor, of future president. And that's our role to our society, to encourage their younger ones so that they can feel that also I can be this, I can be that, I can be higher than a governor. That's what we want them to do. How do I support them? I have to encourage them. I have to tell them. I have to also give them the feeling that, look, here am I. You can be this, you can be higher than this. And we are praying for you to even be higher than this.
You are the chairman of the APC Governors Forum. That is supposed to be a group that is driving the party's attitude to governance, the party's political philosophy. In all honesty, do you think that the APC as a party has created a paradigm shift in Nigerian politics?
Oh, I believe so. I believe so. The first, more people have joined Mr. President and the APC since 2015. So we are serving as a unifying force. I recall less than 3 months, or shortly about 3 months ago, when we went to receive Benga Daniel into the APC, former governor of Ogun State, former director general of the Atiku Abubakar presidential campaign. He said something very profound, that he made his decision to join the APC now because he believed the president is doing a good job and we need to mobilize and support him. We have seen how there is a warm-up in relationship between President Buhari and former President Goodluck Jonathan and other political leaders. President Buhari treats all the 36 governors equally. Just about 6 months ago, we saw a story of Rivers State being refunded $78 billion for roads. I'm still chasing $7 billion, less than 10% of what Rivers is chasing. But because for Buhari, the people of Rivers are as good as the people of Kebbi State, he treated all equitably. So the party has served as a unifying force. Mr. President's transparency is not in doubt, cannot be questioned. And governors of the APC are mindful that they are all ambassadors of the party's philosophy and President Muhammadu Buhari's personal conduct and leadership. So this is, unfortunately, we came at a time when the resource challenge has worsened. both locally and internationally. But even in times of small size of the economy, President Buhari has continued with almost all the projects that he has inherited, which are transformational projects which will produce more income tomorrow. In the southeast, we have the famous Second Niger Bridge. It has been on the drawing board for long. Now it's not driven by boats, because the boats in southeast Nigeria for Buhari are less than the boats in Kebbi State. So if it is politics, he won't be doing, he won't be doing, we are having Mambila, which has been again on the drawing board for long. Now action is taking, something is taking place. We are having pipeline, we are having rail infrastructure, we are having new ports, we are having airports that are being rehabilitated. We are seeing social investment, money transferred to the poor for school feeding, to mobilize the feeding committee. And for me personally, we have seen money going into agriculture, all because of the commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari, to the extent that President Muhammadu Buhari closed borders with our neighbors, not because he dislikes them, he respects our neighbors. He believes Nigeria is a big brother to all. But yet, in order to, because of his patriotism for the small-scale producers of Nigeria, he closed, painfully, he closed borders to show that, look, where it comes to the interest of the small person, I'll do whatever, rightfully and correctly. So this is a president who has done all this, and governors have been supported. 27 states were not able to pay salary as of 2015 when Buhari, and he supported all of them, irrespective of party. He continued to support states during the pandemic. If not for the federal support, most of us would have gone back to those days where we cannot pay salary. What we are dealing with, and I must acknowledge that, is that the economy has shrunken. And my best example is that when I look at the finances of Kebbi State, in 2014, which is the last full year in office of my predecessor, Kebbi State got almost 47 billion naira. At the then exchange rate of 150, that's about $300 million. In 2016, which is my first full year in office, Kebbi State got 36 billion naira, which at the then exchange rate is about $98 million. So something must give way. But yet, because of discipline, because of transparency and value for money, we are also able to do some development projects, continue with ones that inherited. Yesterday, we went with you to between Sakaba and Dankolo, which is almost a 70-kilometer road constructed by the state. It was awarded, it was not started because of funds. We started it, and you can see that, I'm sure you see that tar has reached about 50% of the end of the road. All bridges have been completed. So, and it's happening elsewhere. So I believe, yes, we have been true to our promise.
Now, Your Excellency, we were talking about sustaining the rice revolution, because it's one thing to initiate something, and when you leave, for it to be sustained and people keep benefiting from that advantage. What are you doing about it?
No, I think first is President Buhari's rice revolution, and we're all happy to be part of it. And I believe even after President Buhari leaves office, and after we all leave office, particularly all of those who are serving our second term, this revolution will be sustained by Nigerians. Because I have been across the length and breadth of this country. There is no state in Nigeria where rice farmers are not doing better. There is no state in Nigeria where new investment in rice milling, rice processing is not taking place. And there's no state in Nigeria where consumption of locally homegrown rice is not, has not increased and is being appreciated. So I believe anybody who attempts to undo the gains sustained will have the rage of the Nigerian people to contend with. But I believe that it's sensible. What we even need to pray for is that more crops will achieve the success. Today we are self-sufficient in rice production. Benin Republic, when we had our rice festival a couple of months ago, Benin Republic sent 5 ministers: Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Finance, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Mines and Power and Trade. They came to Kebbi to attend the Rice Festival, and they want to work with the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria so that they can see how Nigeria can also help them. So rice is now part of, will even form part of our diplomacy.
Let me touch quickly the last one on what I may call the Kebbi diplomacy. Everybody virtually in this country hears about the Argungu Fishing Festival. Apart from the glamour and the celebration of it, how much is that festival adding to the fish economy of this state and the fish economy of Nigeria? And are we doing anything beyond our old way to modernize it, to make it a reason for XYZ, US, Netherlands to attend the festival?
Thank you. Last year, we held the Argungu Fishing Festival after about 10 years of non-observance because of about concerns about gathering people given security challenges in Nigeria and even the sub-region, West African sub-region. But last year it was successful. It was the last major event before the COVID pandemic restrictions were put in place in the country, and we are happy that the festival was attended by President Muhammadu Buhari, representatives of different countries. And because of the innovation, we have seen traction. We had a major motor rally which terminated in Argungu with many companies participating, which speaks to our unreported gains in security and whatever. And even before the Argungu Fishing Festival, in February 2020, the regatta festival took place in Yauri, which also is a celebration of our water resources and culture. And both Argungu Fishing Festival and regatta supports educating people about conservation, how you regenerate fish resources so that you have more to produce, more to sell to the global economy. And the enthusiasm we saw, we were unfortunately not able to do both this year because the COVID restrictions were in place. But the enthusiasm we saw from investors has been sustained, and we believe that, God permitting, and COVID restrictions being eased, next year we'll see a bigger, more successful celebration. And again, these are not the only festivals in Kebbi. We also have the Ohola festival that is celebrated by the South Zuru Emirate, where we were yesterday, and it's a month-long harvest-related festival. We also have a Fulani festival, which is celebrated by Fulanis from West Africa, or Tungu, which are also important festivals in Kebbi State.
Your Excellency, I'm capping this conversation, and I want you to make Kebbi State that beautiful girl being looked at by so many suitors. If you were one of those suitors, what is the prime offer Kebbi State is giving that will attract you?
I believe that whoever invests in Kebbi will feel happy, and prosperity will reward him or her.
Well, that's why we cap this conversation this Sunday. Let me thank you for joining us. My guest in the past 45 minutes has been the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, His Excellency Abubakar Atiku Bagudu. Your Excellency, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you.
The conversation never stops and my name never changes. It remains Mwabos Njoku. Let's meet sometime next Sunday. Good afternoon.